Welcome, beautiful damsels. The lion never explains itself to the sheep. It simply roars. Ever wonder why some people seem to walk through life as if they own the air around them, yet they couldn't care less if you notice? That's the Sigma way, commanding attention without asking for it. But here's the catch. While their quiet confidence inspires admiration in some, it also triggers confusion, jealousy, and wild assumptions in others. Did you know that research shows people are more likely to mistrust someone they can't figure out? That's the Sigma summed up. To the outside world, they're an enigma, part hero, part anti-hero, and often a misunderstood mystery. But let's be honest. Sigmas don't just live rent-free in people's heads. They've built a luxury penthouse there. Whether it's their unshakable independence or their refusal to follow the herd, Sigmas make people feel, and not everyone is ready for that. So buckle up. Today we're diving into the brutally honest ways the world views Sigmas, from the awestruck to the flat-out wrong. Oh, and if you've ever secretly judged a Sigma yourself, don't worry, we see you. Let's get into it. Number 1. The too good for us complex. Sigmas are often judged as thinking they're too good for societal norms, but this is a misunderstanding of their deep-seated independence. They aren't rejecting societal conventions out of arrogance. They're doing so because those conventions simply don't resonate with their values or priorities. Yet to an outsider, this refusal to conform can appear as if the Sigma is looking down on others. This perception stems from the Sigma's disinterest in shallow validation. While most people seek approval through groupthink, popularity, or adherence to trends, Sigmas derive their sense of self-worth internally. This self-sufficiency can be intimidating to others, especially those who rely on external validation. Unable to understand the Sigma's mindset, people often label them as elitist or too good for us. What's particularly ironic is that Sigmas aren't trying to make a statement or prove a point. They simply live according to their own rules, without seeking attention or approval. Their lack of interest in fitting in often leaves others feeling rejected, even though this rejection is not personal. It's a byproduct of the Sigma's self-contained nature. This judgment reveals society's discomfort with individuality. The Sigma's quiet independence challenges the norm, forcing people to confront their own dependence on validation. It's easier to label Sigmas as arrogant than to question why their nonconformity feels so threatening. In truth, Sigmas don't think they're better than others. They just value different things. But in a world that equates conformity with humility, their authenticity is often misunderstood as superiority. Number 2. Unreachable standards. One of the most common judgments against Sigmas is that they hold themselves and others to impossibly high standards. To many, this makes them seem like perfectionists or idealists who are out of touch with reality. What's often misunderstood is that these high standards are deeply personal. They are not imposed on others, nor are they born out of a need for control. Sigmas set the bar high for themselves because they believe in continuous growth and self-improvement. They are driven by a desire to achieve their full potential, not to prove something to the world, but to align with their own inner values. This pursuit of excellence is often misinterpreted as rigidity or elitism, especially by those who don't share the same drive. When it comes to others, Sigmas are far less judgmental than they appear. While they may have high expectations in collaborative settings, these are usually tied to shared goals or mutual accountability. Sigmas are not interested in micromanaging or dictating how others should live their lives. They simply expect people to take responsibility for their actions and strive for authenticity, which can be daunting to those who prefer comfort over growth. The misconception of unreachable standards often arises because Sigmas won't settle for mediocrity in their own lives. This self-discipline can unintentionally highlight the complacency of others, leading to resentment or misjudgment. What's missed is that Sigmas' standards are a form of self-respect, not an indictment of others. Ultimately, Sigmas' high standards are a reflection of their belief in potential, both their own and humanity's. While the world may see this as perfectionism, Sigmas understand it as the pursuit of a life lived with purpose and integrity. Number 3. Unapologetically, selfish. Sigmas are frequently labeled as selfish because they make it a priority to protect their mental peace, time, and energy. To outsiders, this behavior may appear self-centered, but it stems from an acute understanding of personal boundaries and the dangers of overextension. Unlike most people, Sigmas recognize that constantly putting others before themselves leads to burnout, resentment, and a diluted sense of purpose. What sets Sigmas apart is the intentionality behind their so-called selfishness. They are not self-serving in the traditional sense, they are self-preserving. They know that in order to show up as their best selves, whether in relationships, work, or creative pursuits, they need to first meet their own needs. This often means saying no to things that don't align with their goals or values, even if it disappoints others. This kind of prioritization can make others feel rejected or undervalued, leading to the assumption that the Sigma is cold or uncaring. In reality, Sigmas care deeply, but refuse to let societal expectations dictate how they allocate their energy. They understand that sacrificing their well-being to please others ultimately benefits no one. Moreover, their selfishness is a strategy to maintain integrity. By focusing on their own path, Sigmas avoid the pitfalls of peer pressure and groupthink. This doesn't mean they disregard others, they simply refuse to compromise their values for the sake of fitting in. The world often misjudges this independence, mistaking it for arrogance or detachment. But Sigmas know that the greatest acts of service come from a place of wholeness, not martyrdom. Their unapologetic focus on self-care and self-determination may be misunderstood, but it's what allows them to thrive in a world that often demands too much. Number 4, a mirror. People fear to look into. Perhaps the most profound way Sigmas are judged is as mirrors that reflect people's deepest insecurities and flaws. They don't actively try to hold up a mirror to others, but their presence, values, and way of being naturally force others to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. Sigmas live unapologetically true to their principles, which can highlight the inconsistencies and compromises others make in their own lives. Their independence underscores others' dependence. Their calm confidence amplifies others' insecurities. This unintentional reflection can make people feel exposed, leading them to lash out at the Sigma rather than addressing their own discomfort. This phenomenon is why Sigmas are often judged so harshly. They challenge people simply by existing. They don't need to say or do anything to provoke this reaction. Their authenticity is enough. Many people aren't ready to confront their own shortcomings, so they project blame onto the Sigma instead. This dynamic can be isolating for Sigmas who may not even realize the extent to which they unsettle others. They're simply living authentically, yet their very presence disrupts the fragile illusions people construct around themselves. Ultimately, the judgments people place on Sigmas say more about the judge than the Sigma. These judgments are often a defense mechanism, protecting people from facing uncomfortable truths. But for those who are willing to look into the mirror, the Sigma offers a rare opportunity for growth and self-awareness. Number 5. Arrogant lone wolves. Sigmas are often accused of being arrogant lone wolves because of their distinct disinterest in groupthink and societal norms. Their quiet confidence and self-assured demeanor can make others feel uncomfortable, leading to the projection of insecurity onto the Sigma. To many, their independence reads as a statement of superiority when in fact it's a reflection of their deep inner conviction. Sigmas don't shun groups out of disdain. They avoid them because they value authenticity over conformity. They don't feel the need to perform or seek validation from a collective. Instead, they focus on their own growth, goals, and principles. This detachment can make them seem aloof or even dismissive, but it's simply their way of preserving their individuality. What many fail to understand is that Sigmas are not antisocial. They are selectively social. They value meaningful connections but have little patience for superficial interactions or forced camaraderie. This selective approach can come across as arrogance, especially to those who don't understand the Sigma's prioritization of quality over quantity in relationships. The judgment of arrogance often arises from the discomfort others feel in the presence of a Sigma. Their self-sufficiency highlights the dependence many people have on external validation or group acceptance. This silent challenge to societal norms can feel threatening, leading people to misinterpret the Sigma's independence as superiority. In truth, Sigmas don't consider themselves better than anyone else. They simply refuse to compromise their individuality to fit into societal molds. Their arrogance is a reflection of the world's unease with those who stand alone, unapologetically. The lone wolf persona isn't about disdain for others. It's about staying true to themselves in a world that often demands conformity. Number 6. Unrealistic and overly self-reliant. Sigmas are often judged as being unrealistically self-reliant. To many, their independence seems impractical or even isolating. The assumption is that they avoid relying on others out of arrogance or a fear of vulnerability, but this perspective fails to capture the deeper reasons behind their self-sufficiency. For Sigmas, independence is not a rejection of collaboration. It's a safeguard born out of experience. Many have faced betrayal, disappointment, or situations where relying on others led to setbacks. These experiences have taught them the importance of being self-reliant, not as a means of avoiding connection, but as a way of ensuring they remain in control of their own destiny. Their self-reliance is also a reflection of their resourcefulness. Sigmas prefer to solve problems on their own because they value learning through experience and taking full responsibility for their outcomes. This approach is often misunderstood as an unwillingness to trust others, but in reality, it's about maintaining autonomy and avoiding unnecessary dependency. The world often misjudges this trait because it challenges societal norms that prioritize collaboration and interconnectedness. While Sigmas are not opposed to teamwork, they approach it with caution, ensuring that their independence is not compromised. This measured approach can be misinterpreted as impractical or overly cautious, especially by those who are more accustomed to collective decision-making. In truth, Sigmas' self-reliance is a strength, not a weakness. It allows them to navigate challenges with resilience and adapt to changing circumstances without becoming overly dependent on external factors. While others may see their independence as unrealistic, Sigmas understand it as a necessary foundation for living authentically and maintaining their integrity in a world that often demands conformity. Number 7. Mysterious yet untrustworthy. Sigmas have an aura of mystery that naturally intrigues people, but this same trait often leads to unwarranted suspicion. In a world that values oversharing and transparency, their reserved nature makes others uneasy. Many people equate openness with trustworthiness, so when Sigmas don't divulge their thoughts, emotions, or plans, others start questioning their motives. It's not that Sigmas are secretive for malicious reasons. They simply value their privacy and prefer to keep certain parts of their lives to themselves. However, this intentional lack of disclosure can easily be misconstrued as having something to hide. The irony is that Sigmas are usually more authentic than most people who outwardly appear transparent. While others may engage in superficial honesty or virtue signaling, Sigmas focus on being true to themselves. They refuse to compromise their integrity for the sake of appeasing societal norms or gaining trust artificially. But because they don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, many fail to see this deeper authenticity. Instead, Sigmas are judged as untrustworthy, aloof, or even manipulative, simply because they don't conform to conventional expectations of openness. This misunderstanding is exacerbated by the Sigma's preference for observing rather than participating in group dynamics. Their quiet, watchful presence can make others feel scrutinized, leading to further distrust. People project their insecurities onto the Sigma, assuming their silence hides judgment or ill intent. Ultimately, this judgment stems from society's discomfort with the unknown. Sigmas embody the idea that you don't need to broadcast your every thought to be genuine. Yet the world struggles to reconcile mystery with integrity, often unfairly labeling Sigmas as untrustworthy when they are simply living on their own terms, without the need for external validation or approval. Number 8. Out-of-touch idealists. Sigmas are often dismissed as dreamers disconnected from reality. Their visionary thinking and ability to see possibilities beyond the status quo can make them appear impractical to others. While most people focus on what is immediately achievable, Sigmas dwell in the realm of what could be. This perspective, however, is frequently misunderstood as naivety or detachment. The truth is, sigmas aren't out of touch. They're just operating on a different wavelength. They think long-term and outside the box, often envisioning solutions or innovations that others can't yet comprehend. This ability to see beyond societal constraints makes them seem out of sync with conventional thinking, leading people to dismiss their ideas as unrealistic or too idealistic. Ironically, many of the world's greatest advancements came from individuals who were once judged in the same way. What people fail to understand is that sigmas are deeply rooted in practicality. They simply refuse to let practicality limit their imagination. They know that progress requires challenging the status quo, and they're willing to endure criticism to pursue their vision. Yet society tends to label anyone who steps too far outside its norms as out of touch, preferring the comfort of the familiar over the challenge of innovation. This judgment often frustrates sigmas, who see their ideas dismissed not because they lack merit, but because they don't fit into the narrow confines of conventional thinking. It's not that they are disconnected from reality, it's that they refuse to be bound by its limitations. Their so-called idealism is actually a strength, but it's one that few people recognize until their ideas prove to be ahead of their time. Number 9. Threatened by their silence. A sigma's silence is often misinterpreted as passive aggressiveness, judgment, or even superiority. In reality, their quiet nature is a reflection of their thoughtful, introspective personality. They observe more than they speak, preferring to process situations internally rather than contributing unnecessary noise. Yet, in a society that values constant communication and outward expression, this silence can be unsettling. People are often uncomfortable with silence because it forces them to confront their own thoughts and insecurities. When faced with a sigma's calm, watchful demeanor, they may project their fears onto the sigma, assuming their silence hides negative intentions. This can lead to judgments that are entirely misplaced. Sigmas are not being silent to manipulate or judge. They're simply conserving their energy and focusing on what truly matters. This misunderstanding is exacerbated by the fact that sigmas rarely feel the need to explain themselves. Their silence is deliberate, not defensive, and they don't feel obligated to fill the void just to ease someone else's discomfort. However, this can make them appear standoffish or aloof to those who equate constant chatter with friendliness. The truth is, silence is one of the sigma's greatest strengths. It allows them to observe situations objectively, identify patterns, and respond with precision. Yet the world often misreads this quiet confidence as something threatening. Ultimately, the discomfort others feel around a sigma's silence reveals more about them than it does about the sigma. It exposes a societal over-reliance on external validation and noise, making the sigma a quiet disruptor in a world that fears introspection. Number 10. Emotionally overpowered critics. One of the most misunderstood aspects of sigmas is their unfiltered honesty. While most people sugarcoat their opinions or soften criticism to avoid conflict, sigmas deliver the truth exactly as they see it. This brutal honesty is not meant to be confrontational, but is rather a reflection of their commitment to authenticity and integrity. However, the world often misinterprets this as being harsh or overly critical, primarily because it's unaccustomed to such directness. Sigmas value logic and clarity, and they prefer addressing issues head-on rather than tiptoeing around them. To them, offering a truthful critique is an act of respect. It shows they care enough to share their genuine perspective. But in a society where emotional sensitivity often trumps objectivity, their straightforwardness can feel like an attack. Many people react defensively, viewing sigmas as emotionally overpowering or insensitive critics rather than the candid truth seekers they are. This misjudgment arises because most people associate honesty with negativity. When confronted with a sigma's candid observations, individuals are often forced to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves, their actions, or their ideas. This can be emotionally overwhelming, especially for those who are not used to self-reflection or constructive criticism. Despite these misconceptions, sigma's honesty comes from a place of integrity, not malice. They aren't trying to tear others down, but rather to cut through the noise and get to the heart of the matter. However, their unwillingness to sugarcoat their words often puts them at odds with a world that craves validation over truth. In the end, Sigma's critiques are often more valuable than people realize, if only they could be received without the emotional backlash. Their insights challenge others to grow, but few are ready to embrace this kind of intellectual and emotional honesty. In conclusion, Sigmas are often misunderstood and misjudged by the world around them. They stand as enigmatic figures, fiercely independent and unapologetically authentic in a society that often rewards conformity. Whether seen as rebels without a cause, unpredictable threats, or social outliers, the truth is far more profound and complex. Their actions are not born out of a desire to destroy the existing order, but from a deep-rooted need to honor their own truth, cultivate personal freedom, and live without the constraints of external expectations. The world may label them as dangerous or inaccessible, but in reality, Sigmas are the architects of their own paths, living life on their own terms, not to cause chaos, but to explore the full extent of their potential. They challenge the norm, because they are visionaries who see beyond the limitations that others adhere to, and in doing so, they push the boundaries of what it means to live authentically. While others may perceive them as a threat to the established hierarchy or a reflection of their own insecurities, the Sigma's true power lies in their ability to inspire those around them to question, grow, and break free from the chains that hold them back. Their silence, their independence, and their refusal to conform are not weaknesses, but strengths that allow them to lead with an integrity that cannot be shaken. The Sigma's journey is one of self-discovery, and in their pursuit of personal freedom and authenticity, they illuminate the path for others who are brave enough to follow. The world may judge them, but those who truly understand the essence of a Sigma know that their power lies not in rebellion, but in their unwavering commitment to being true to themselves. And in a world so often bound by societal expectations, that is the most extraordinary and liberating power of all. If you've resonated with the power, depth, and authenticity of the Sigma mindset, then this is the place for you. Don't let the world's judgments hold you back. Embrace your uniqueness, your truth, and your path. If you want more content that challenges the norm and empowers you to break free from the ordinary, hit that subscribe button. Join our community of exceptional individuals who aren't afraid to live life on their own terms. By subscribing, you're not just staying up to date with revolutionary ideas. You're aligning yourself with a movement of visionaries, thinkers, and leaders who refuse to be anything but themselves. Don't miss out on the next powerful message. Subscribe now and take the first step toward mastering your own reality. Stay unapologetically you, and let's keep this journey going. Thanks, damsels, for tuning in. See you in the next vid. Bye, and stay blessed.